In the grand tapestry of history, few figures loom larger than Queen Elizabeth I of England. Her reign, marked by triumphs such as the defeat of the Spanish Armada and the flourishing of the English Renaissance, left an indelible mark on the world. Yet, beneath the surface of her storied rule, whispers of mystery and intrigue surround the circumstances of her death. For over 4 decades, Elizabeth ruled with an intricate balance of charm and iron will, but as her life drew to a close in March 1603 at Richmond Palace, the truth of her final days became obscured by a veil of uncertainty. The official account of her death depicts a peaceful passing, surrounded by loyal servants. However, the reality was far from serene. Conflicting eyewitness reports emerged, each painting a different picture of Elizabeth's final moments. Some claim she slipped away quietly, while others suggested a more tumultuous end. Critical evidence vanished, and those present on that fateful night often changed their stories, raising suspicions of a deliberate cover-up. The political climate of the time was fraught with tension, as Elizabeth's refusal to name a successor created a power vacuum that many were eager to fill. Her advisors, ever loyal, had motivations of their own to keep the truth hidden, fearing the chaos that might ensue if the full story were revealed. As the years wore on, Elizabeth had become a master of illusion. She cultivated an image of eternal youth and vitality, a facade that required increasingly elaborate efforts to maintain. Her daily beauty regimen was an exercise in both art and danger. Each morning, attendants spent hours applying a mask of white lead paint and vinegar to her face, a toxic concoction that concealed the ravages of smallpox scars but also slowly poisoned her. Her health was compromised, yet she persisted. Driven by the need to project strength, Elizabeth's teeth, blackened by an addiction to sugar, were hidden behind closed lip smiles, and her hair, once a crown of vibrant red, had long since fallen out. To conceal her baldness, she amassed a collection of over 80 wigs, each more extravagant than the last. These wigs, crafted to perfection, became symbols of her enduring reign, even as the makeup she used continued to erode her physical health. The pressure of maintaining this illusion took a toll on Elizabeth's psyche. She was known to speak to her portraits, engaging in full conversations with the painted images of her younger self. Her servants would find her in the dead of night, standing before a portrait from her coronation, seeking guidance from the past. Her hands trembled uncontrollably, requiring assistance to sign documents, yet her public appearances were meticulously choreographed to mask these vulnerabilities. Wearing gloves became a necessity, hiding fingernails that had turned black, a grim reminder of the lead poisoning that plagued her. The weight of the crown bore heavily on Elizabeth, and the psychological strain became increasingly evident. Ruling alone, without the support of a husband or direct heir, placed immense pressure on her shoulders. The court was rife with intrigue and ambition, and Elizabeth, ever the strategist, was acutely aware of the factions vying for power. Her interactions with portraits symbolized a longing for the past, a time when her reign was unchallenged and her authority unquestioned. Comparisons can be drawn to other historical figures who faced similar pressures, like Napoleon, whose ambition led to his downfall, or Catherine the Great, who juggled personal and political challenges. Elizabeth's isolation and the burdens of leadership contributed to her mental and physical decline. Her conversations with portraits were not merely eccentricities, but manifestations of the immense pressure she endured. Elizabeth's refusal to name a successor was both a stroke of political genius and a deadly gamble. By keeping the question of succession unanswered, she maintained control over her court and kept potential rivals in check. Yet, as her health waned, the uncertainty she had cultivated threatened to unravel the stability she had worked so hard to maintain. Courtiers began to align themselves with various factions, each hoping to influence the outcome in their favor. The Earl of Essex's supporters, still bitter over his execution, whispered of alternative candidates, while Catholic nobles saw an opportunity to restore their faith to the throne. The international implications of this succession crisis were profound. Foreign powers, ever watchful, poised themselves to take advantage of any instability. Elizabeth's strategic ambiguity had served her well for decades, but as her life drew to a close, the gamble risked plunging England into chaos. Her final Christmas court in 1602 was tinged with foreboding, as she reportedly told the French ambassador, "I may not be here next Christmas, but England will survive the chaos. It was a chilling acknowledgement of the storm that awaited. Behind the scenes, Robert Cecil, Elizabeth's chief minister, orchestrated a delicate balancing act. His secretive communications with James VI of Scotland revealed the intricate political maneuvering required to ensure a smooth transition of power. Cecil's motivations were complex, driven by a desire to maintain stability and secure his own position in the new regime. His actions were pivotal in the eventual ascension of James VI to the English throne, a testament to his political acumen and the weight of his influence. The broader context of England-Scotland relations added another layer of complexity to the succession question. The union of the crowns under James VI, later James I of England, was a significant milestone in British history, yet it was fraught with challenges. Cecil's correspondences with James were instrumental in navigating these turbulent waters, ensuring that the transition of power was as seamless as possible given the circumstances. Religious tensions simmered beneath the surface of Elizabeth's reign, and the question of succession brought these issues to the forefront. Catholic nobles, marginalized under Elizabeth's Protestant rule, saw an opportunity to regain influence. Their aspirations to restore Catholicism to the English throne were met with resistance from a Protestant-dominated court, leading to a delicate balancing act that had to be carefully managed. The history of religious conflict during Elizabeth's reign was marked by persecution and political maneuvering. Key Catholic figures, both in England and abroad, plotted to influence the succession, hoping to see a monarch more sympathetic to their cause. The long-term effects of these religious tensions were profound, shaping English politics and society for generations to come. As Elizabeth's life drew to a close, she was acutely aware of the chaos her death would unleash. Her speeches and public statements during this period reflected a somber acceptance of her mortality and the challenges that lay ahead. Her relationship with foreign ambassadors was marked by a pragmatic understanding of the geopolitical landscape and the potential for upheaval. Elizabeth's legacy is a complex tapestry of triumphs and challenges. She shaped the monarchy and British history in ways that continue to resonate today. Her final years were a testament to her resilience and strategic acumen, even as the cracks in her carefully maintained facade began to show. Her acknowledgement of the impending chaos foreshadowed the turbulent times that would follow, yet her impact on the world remained undeniable. In the end, the story of Queen Elizabeth I is one of strength, deception, and an unyielding will to maintain control in the face of overwhelming odds. Her final days, shrouded in mystery, serve as a poignant reminder of the complexities of power and the enduring legacy of one of history's most formidable rulers. In the late 16th century, Europe was a continent teetering on the brink of chaos. The Spanish, under King Philip II, were mobilizing troops in the Netherlands, a strategic move that sent ripples of fear throughout Protestant England. This show of force was not merely a preparation for conflict, but a bold statement of Spanish resolve to support Catholic claims across Europe. The deployment of the Spanish Armada in 1588 had already demonstrated Spain's naval prowess, and the threat of a renewed assault loomed large in the minds of English statesmen. At the heart of these tensions lay the deep-seated religious divide between Catholicism and Protestantism. The Reformation had fractured Christendom, pitting countries and even families against one another in a struggle for theological and political dominance. England, under Elizabeth I, stood as a Protestant bastion, but the specter of Catholic intervention was ever present. The alliances formed during this period were as much about faith as they were about power. The Catholic League, backed by Spain and the papacy, sought to curb the spread of Protestantism, while Protestant states banded together to resist Catholic encroachment. These alliances were fragile, often shifting with the tides of war and diplomacy. For England, the Spanish troops in the Netherlands were a clear and present danger. The proximity of Spanish forces to English shores was unnerving, and the possibility of a Catholic supported invasion was a nightmare scenario for Elizabeth and her advisors. The English crown had to tread carefully, balancing the need for military preparedness with diplomatic overtures to potential allies. North of the English border, James VI of Scotland was watching the developments with keen interest. The Scottish border, long a point of contention and conflict, was now a potential flashpoint in the looming succession crisis. James, as the closest Protestant heir to the English throne, had much at stake. He was acutely aware of the need to secure his claim to the English crown, a goal that required both diplomatic finesse and military readiness. James's relationship with Elizabeth was complex. While he was her cousin and potential successor, the politics of succession were fraught with uncertainty and intrigue. James had to navigate the treacherous waters of English and Scottish politics, balancing his desire for a peaceful succession with the reality that he might need to assert his claim by force. The fortification of the Scottish border was a strategic necessity. James had to be prepared for any eventuality, whether it was a peaceful transition or a military intervention. The stakes were high and the outcome uncertain. As the political situation grew increasingly volatile, the economic climate in London mirrored the uncertainty of the times. Merchants in the city, the lifeblood of England's economy, began hoarding gold in anticipation of civil unrest or war. The prospect of a succession crisis, coupled with the threat of foreign invasion, had a chilling effect on trade and commerce. Merchants, ever pragmatic, sought to safeguard their wealth against the tumultuous tides of politics. The hoarding of gold was not merely an act of self-preservation, but a reflection of the broader economic implications for England during this period of uncertainty. Political instability often led to economic turmoil, and the merchants of London were keenly aware of the potential consequences. The role of merchants in political affairs was not to be underestimated. Many wielded significant influence, both economically and politically, and their actions could sway the course of events. In times of crisis, their support or opposition could make a critical difference. As Elizabeth's health began to decline, the reins of power gradually slipped from her grasp. Her once formidable presence was fading, and her most trusted advisors were forced to step into the breach. In essence, a shadow government emerged, composed of a small group of men who made decisions on behalf of the Queen. These advisors, including figures like Robert Cecil, were tasked with managing the kingdom in Elizabeth's stead. Their actions were often clandestine, involving the forging of documents, interception of letters, and elimination of potential threats to the crown. Operating behind the scenes, they maintained the illusion of Elizabeth's authority while making critical decisions necessary for the stability of the realm. The ethical implications of their actions were complex. While they were ostensibly serving the Queen, their decisions often reflected a pragmatic approach to governance, prioritizing stability over strict adherence to the monarch's wishes. Their efforts were both a testament to their loyalty and a reflection of the precarious nature of Elizabeth's rule in her final years. As Elizabeth's physical health waned, so too did her mental faculties. Her behavior became increasingly erratic, raising eyebrows and fueling rumors of madness. Her refusal to sleep lying down, opting instead to rest against a wall of pillows, was the subject of much speculation. When asked about this peculiar habit, she cryptically replied, "If I lie down, I shall never rise again." This behavior was but one aspect of a broader pattern of eccentricity. Elizabeth's obsession with her portraits, for instance, reached new heights. She ordered her servants to move paintings around the palace daily, convinced that they were judging her or watching her in some way. Her paranoia extended to her meals, as she refused to eat food not prepared by a specific cook, fearing poisoning. These behaviors, while troubling, were perhaps understandable given the immense pressures she faced. The weight of the crown, coupled with the specter of mortality, had taken its toll on the aging queen. By early 1603, it was evident to those around her that Elizabeth's time was drawing to a close. The queen moved to Richmond Palace, a place she had long favored, for what many understood to be her final days. The official accounts of her decline paint a picture of peaceful resignation, but the reality was more complex. Witness testimonies from those who attended her in her last days reveal a different story. Some spoke of her moments of clarity and prayer, while others noted her periods of confusion and distress. The truth of Elizabeth's final days lies somewhere between these accounts, a blend of dignity and despair, strength and vulnerability. As her reign came to an end, preparations for the transition of power were well underway. James VI of Scotland was poised to take the throne, marking the beginning of a new era for England. The Tudor dynasty, which had shaped England for over a century, was coming to a close, giving way to the Stuart line. To understand Elizabeth's behaviors in her final months, it is essential to consider the cultural and psychological context of the time. The pressures of monarchy were immense, and Elizabeth had borne them for decades. Her actions, while seemingly bizarre, can be seen as a response to the immense stress and isolation of her position. The Renaissance era, with its emphasis on individualism and self-reflection, may have influenced Elizabeth's preoccupation with her image and legacy. Her midnight wanderings and obsession with portraits reflect a deeper struggle with identity and mortality. In these actions, we see a queen grappling with the weight of history and her place within it. The final months of Elizabeth I's reign were a period of transition, not only for England, but for the Queen herself. Her legacy, shaped by her actions and decisions, would endure long after her death. The transition from the Tudor to the Stuart monarchy marked the end of an era, but the influence of Elizabeth's reign would continue to resonate. In the end, Elizabeth's story is one of resilience and complexity. Her final days, though shrouded in mystery and rumor, serve as a reminder of the challenges of leadership and the enduring impact of one of history's most formidable rulers. The end of Queen Elizabeth I's reign is enveloped in a thick fog of mystery and intrigue, a fitting conclusion to a life marked by political maneuvering and personal fortitude. In her final days, Elizabeth seemed to grapple not only with her own mortality, but with the weight of her legacy. Her admission of illness on March 18th, as she pointed to her throat and uttered, "I am not well," marked a significant moment. It was the first time in months that she acknowledged her frailty, an acknowledgement that came with a flurry of conflicting reports from those present at her deathbed. The accounts of her final words diverged dramatically, with Robert Cecil claiming she offered all my possessions for a moment of time, while Lady Scrow remembered her saying, "I wish not to live any longer." A third witness asserted that Elizabeth said nothing at all. These discrepancies raise questions about the motivations and pressures faced by each witness, suggesting a landscape of court politics that may have influenced their narratives. Elizabeth's health had been a subject of speculation for some time, with whispers of a mysterious illness circulating among her court. Her sudden admission of not being well added fuel to the fire of these rumors. The Queen's physical decline seemed to mirror the waning of her once unshakable political power. Court politics played a crucial role in shaping the narrative surrounding her final days. As Elizabeth's health faltered, the battle for influence over the impending succession intensified. The Queen's closest advisors, including Robert Cecil, were acutely aware of the power vacuum that her death would create. In this environment, controlling the narrative of her demise became paramount. The impact of Elizabeth's death on her immediate entourage was profound. For those who had built their careers around her reign, the transition threatened their positions and influence. This fear of obsolescence may have driven some to alter their accounts of her death, aligning themselves with the new power structures emerging in the court. Elizabeth I supposedly passed away around 3:00 a.m. on March 24th, yet the official announcement was delayed until nearly 11:00 a.m. This 8-hour gap is shrouded in suspicion, as the palace was under strict lockdown during this time. Access to the Queen's chambers was restricted to a select group of 6 individuals, raising questions about what transpired behind closed doors. Historically, the death of a monarch was a carefully orchestrated event, with protocols in place to manage the transition of power and the dissemination of information. However, the secrecy surrounding Elizabeth's death stands in stark contrast to these precedents, suggesting an effort to control the narrative before the public and other court members could react. The immediate actions taken by the 6 individuals present suggest a premeditated plan to manage the succession. Their swift removal of Elizabeth's body in preparation for burial, without an independent examination or autopsy, raises further suspicions. Such actions were highly unusual for a monarch's death and indicate a desire to conceal the true circumstances of her demise. The orchestrated cover-up that followed Elizabeth's death was led by Robert Cecil, a master of political maneuvering. Cecil's actions in the hours and days following the Queen's passing demonstrate a calculated effort to consolidate power and ensure a smooth transition to James VI. Pre-prepared documents announcing James's succession were dispatched to Scotland before noon on March 24th, indicating that plans for the transition had been set in motion well before Elizabeth's death. These documents contain details about Elizabeth's final wishes that no one else had witnessed, highlighting the extent of Cecil's control over the narrative. The timing of events following Elizabeth's death is suspicious, with immediate changes in court testimony and records aligning perfectly with Cecil's official narrative, Lady Scrowe's recanting of her statements, and the mysterious disappearance of several key witnesses suggest a coordinated effort to suppress dissenting voices and ensure a unified account of the Queen's final days. The sudden death of Elizabeth's personal physician, Dr. John Dee, just 3 days after the Queen's passing, adds another layer of intrigue to the story. Dr. Dee had been documenting Elizabeth's mysterious symptoms for months, and his untimely death, officially attributed to heart failure, conveniently silenced a potential source of information about her health. The deaths of individuals closely associated with Elizabeth, including Dr. Dee, raise questions about foul play. In the politically charged environment of the Tudor court, untimely deaths were not uncommon, often serving as a means to eliminate threats to those in power. The role of physicians in the Tudor court was significant, as they were privy to the health and private matters of the monarch. Dr. Dee's death removed a key witness who might have offered insights into Elizabeth's condition and the circumstances of her death. Within a week of Elizabeth's death, her private chambers were gutted and renovated, with tapestries, furniture, and personal items either destroyed or relocated. This rapid clearing of her chambers raises questions about the motivations behind such actions. While Cecil claimed it was standard protocol for royal transitions, palace records show no such protocol existed for previous monarchs. The destruction of Elizabeth's personal belongings suggests an effort to eliminate evidence that might offer insights into her final days and the nature of her death. Personal items often hold significant historical value, providing a window into the lives and personalities of historical figures. The removal of Elizabeth's belongings deprived historians of valuable information that could have contributed to a fuller understanding of her reign and death. The Spanish ambassador's letter, written 3 days before Elizabeth's official death, is one of the most damning pieces of evidence in the case for a coordinated cover-up. The letter mentioned recent developments regarding the English succession, implying that foreign powers were aware of the impending transition before it was officially announced. Diplomatic relations between England and Spain during Elizabeth's reign were fraught with tension, with espionage and intelligence playing crucial roles in the political landscape. The ambassador's foreknowledge of events suggests a level of foreign involvement or awareness that complicates the narrative of Elizabeth's death. Espionage and intelligence gathering were critical components of late Tudor politics, with numerous foreign agents operating within England. The Spanish ambassador's letter highlights the extent to which international politics intersected with domestic affairs during Elizabeth's reign. Several key witnesses to Elizabeth's death vanished from historical records, while others, like Lady Scrowe, recanted their statements. This pattern of disappearing witnesses and altered testimonies points to the influence and pressure exerted by the court to conform to the official narrative. The power dynamics within Elizabeth's court were complex, with individuals jockeying for position and influence in the wake of her death. The pressure to align with the prevailing narrative would have been immense, as dissenting voices risked their reputations and livelihoods. The impact of these altered testimonies on historical narratives is significant, as they shape our understanding of Elizabeth's death and the transition to the Stuart dynasty. The suppression of alternative accounts underscores the challenges historians face in reconstructing accurate depictions of historical events. The mysterious circumstances surrounding Elizabeth's death have had lasting implications for her legacy and the subsequent reign of James VI and I. The transition from the Tudor to the Stuart dynasty marked a significant shift in English history, with Elizabeth's death serving as a turning point. Elizabeth's enduring legacy is characterized by her resilience, political acumen, and cultural impact. Despite the questions surrounding her death, her reign remains a defining period in English history, shaping the nation's identity and future. The challenges of leadership and the complexities of her final days serve as reminders of the enduring impact of one of history's most formidable rulers. As the last Tudor monarch, Elizabeth's death closed a chapter in English history, but her influence continues to resonate through the ages. Her story is one of resilience and complexity, a testament to the indomitable spirit that defined her reign. In March 1603, a curious silence fell over the court records regarding Elizabeth. Her presence, once a dominant force in the annals of English governance, seemed to vanish. The absorption of her estate by the crown, without any formal contest or public outcry from her family, only deepened the mystery. Historians have long speculated about the reasons behind this disappearance. Was it a deliberate effort to erase her final days from history, or merely the result of chaotic succession planning? The absence of documentation raises questions about the power dynamics at play during the transition from Tudor to Stuart rule. Court politics in Elizabethan England were notoriously complex. The shifting allegiances and secretive maneuvers often dictated the historical narrative. Comparisons can be drawn to other figures in history who similarly faded from records, sometimes due to political convenience or scandal. The implications of such erasures are profound, as they shape our understanding of historical events and the legacies of those involved. The silence surrounding Elizabeth's final weeks could be seen as a reflection of the tumultuous and often ruthless nature of court life. The announcement of Elizabeth's death was rife with inconsistencies. Modern historians, examining the document, have uncovered numerous anachronisms and contradictions. The events described could not have unfolded in the sequence presented. Quotes were attributed to individuals who were not present at the time, and conversations cited appeared to directly contradict other documented evidence. Such discrepancies raise suspicions about the official narrative and suggest a possible cover-up. Propaganda was a potent tool in Elizabethan England, used to shape public perception and control the narrative. The art of crafting such messages often involved obscuring inconvenient truths beneath layers of ceremony and spectacle. Historians play a crucial role in peeling back these layers to reveal the underlying realities. By scrutinizing the details of the death announcement, they challenge the accepted version of events and invite us to reconsider what we know about Elizabeth's final days. Robert Cecil, Elizabeth's trusted advisor, orchestrated an elaborate royal funeral designed to captivate the public's attention. The grandeur of the event was unparalleled, with a procession that stretched on for hours and spared no expense. This spectacle effectively diverted public focus from the suspicious circumstances of Elizabeth's death to a celebration of her life and reign. The public, dazzled by the display, largely neglected to question the official account. Throughout history, public spectacles have been employed as powerful tools for political gain. The psychology behind distraction and misinformation can be highly effective, especially when executed on such a grand scale. By shifting the narrative, Cecil ensured that the questions surrounding Elizabeth's death remained unasked and unanswered for centuries. The funeral spectacle stands as a testament to the power of pageantry in shaping public perception. Among the most compelling theories regarding Elizabeth's death is the possibility of mercury poisoning. Elizabeth's iconic white face paint, a staple of her public image, contained dangerously high levels of mercury and lead. These substances, when absorbed into the body, can cause a host of symptoms that align closely with the ailments Elizabeth reportedly suffered in her final days. Tremors, paranoia, insomnia, and neurological decline are all consistent with mercury poisoning. The discovery of toxic substances in a hidden chamber at Richmond Palace further fuels suspicions of foul play. Bottles containing traces of arsenic and antimony, known poisons of the time, were found and quickly classified, their contents removed from public access. The secrecy surrounding this discovery suggests that the poisons may have played a role in Elizabeth's demise. The presence of these substances raises the question: was her death the result of a deliberate act of poisoning? Another theory posits that Elizabeth may have chosen to end her own life. Coded letters between Cecil and his associates, unearthed in the 1980s, reference the idea of a merciful conclusion to her suffering. Facing mental collapse and aware of the impending succession crisis, Elizabeth might have seen assisted suicide as a means to control her own destiny. The ethical and political implications of such a decision are profound, challenging our understanding of sovereignty and the pressures of monarchy. Mental health in the context of sovereignty is a delicate subject. Monarchs were expected to project strength and stability, often at the expense of their personal well-being. Elizabeth, known for her resilience and determination, may have reached a point where the burdens of leadership became too great to bear. The possibility of her choosing to end her life reflects the immense pressures she faced and the precarious nature of her position as a ruler. Elizabeth's Protestant reforms had earned her both admirers and bitter enemies. Among the latter were radical religious factions within her own court, who saw her death as an opportunity to install a more compliant, Catholic-friendly monarch. Evidence suggests that a conspiracy, possibly led by extremist Puritans, sought to hasten her demise for religious and political gain. Religious conflict in Elizabethan England was deeply entrenched, with tensions between Catholics and Protestants defining much of the period's political landscape. Plots against monarchs were not uncommon, as factions vied for influence and control. The 8-hour gap between Elizabeth's death and its official announcement raises suspicions of a staged scene, allowing time to eliminate evidence of foul play. This theory of religious conspiracy underscores the volatile nature of Elizabeth's reign and the ever-present threat of assassination. The Spanish ambassador's prescient letter adds another layer to the intrigue surrounding Elizabeth's death. His detailed predictions about the succession and the handling of her death suggest that foreign intelligence services were privy to insider information. The possibility of international involvement in Elizabeth's demise highlights the complex web of espionage and diplomacy that characterized Renaissance Europe. Espionage was a common tool in the power struggles between nations during this period. The ambassador's knowledge of specific details lends credence to the idea that Elizabeth's death was orchestrated, with foreign powers playing a role in the unfolding events. The intersection of domestic and international politics in this context reveals the broader implications of Elizabeth's death for the balance of power in Europe. Elizabeth's death, shrouded in mystery and speculation, serves as a poignant reminder of the vulnerability of even the most powerful figures. The possibility of her assassination, whether by poison conspiracy or assisted suicide, raises questions about the nature of power and the lengths to which individuals and factions will go to secure their interests. Her death wasn't just the end of an era. It was a masterclass in political maneuvering and the art of assassination. Throughout history, powerful leaders have fallen victim to assassination, often with the truth obscured by layers of deception. The techniques and motivations behind these acts have evolved, but the fundamental dynamics of power, vulnerability, and the quest for control remain constant. Elizabeth's story invites us to reflect on the enduring nature of these themes and the lessons they offer for understanding the complexities of leadership and governance. As we conclude this exploration of Elizabeth's final days, we are left with more questions than answers. Her death, steeped in enigma, challenges us to reconsider the narratives we accept and the histories we construct. The truth of what happened at Richmond Palace may never be fully known, but the impact of Elizabeth's reign and the mysteries surrounding her end continue to captivate and inspire inquiry. As we look to the future, we carry forward the lessons and legacies of one of history's most formidable rulers, whose life and death remain subjects of fascination and debate.